Coming up tonight on Game All Night, Chris Michaud is here, and him and I get to play an old classic, BalderBance. And Gary also learns about Eat Pope, You Cat.
Welcome to Game All Night.
Oh, how convenient is that? Chris has a graphic when I screw up, and that's all it's used for. But anyways, guys, I actually screwed up in this episode. My audio is completely off in this one. It just sounds horrible. Just giving you guys a heads up, but besides that, enjoy the show.
All right, so it's Game All Night, and tonight I'm joined by Chris Michaud, formerly Moderator Chris, Emeritus, Flip the Table Towers, and here he is in the flesh.
Hello!
Many of you have not actually seen him in person, but you definitely recognize the voice. Am I not right?
I've gotten that before. People say it's like talking to the radio when they meet me at a convention, which I'll take as a compliment, I guess.
Well, you and Bruce, who is on recently, both have very distinctive, and I don't want to say cutting because that sounds rude, but you can be heard from across the room very clearly.
Yeah. Bruce and I hung out at Dice Tower Con a couple years ago, and people had to put in earplugs whenever we were talking to each other.
I imagine it's like a physical game of one-upsmanship as you guys just get louder and louder and have more and more fun. I imagine,
and it's a loud environment anyway.
Exactly.
And then we're all pumped up. So, Bruce and I were just hanging out. I was like, board games. But, so yeah, we had a good time. It was good.
No, that's actually how I met Bruce. Like, I saw Bruce at WBC one year. Party Gamecast was setting up an open gaming one time and just kind of saw them. I had to leave that night, but I remember hearing the voice and then distinctly heard the voice at Gen Con, and I'm like, Bruce is nearby. I can just tell. And it's just like, you guys just stand out, and that's a good thing because you want to be distinctive in your field, right?
Right. I think maybe that's why North Star hired him, is because if he's at a business convention, you could just follow his voice to whatever booth he's at. And then he can sell you funky chicken and everything will work out great.
Exactly. Or funky salmon, which is what happens when you leave salmon in the sofa for too long.
Right. And now you know.
Because knowing's how you know stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So those of you who may not have known, Chris actually did a podcast that heavily influenced a lot of what I do. The humor I love. It was Flip the Table. It was hysterical. Hence why, and I don't think he ironically owns all the monopolies that are behind him right now. I think he genuinely owns them and plays them.
Like 80% of these I legitimately own. I think I might have bought Anti-Monopoly, ironically, here. Which, by the way, I've never played because I read the rule book, and it turned me off instantly. It's the only Monopoly I think I actively don't like. Although it's hard to say having not played it.
So I do have a small confession. Long before my board game chops, you're probably talking 15 plus years ago, I actually made for a friend a like high-end wooden Monopoly, which sounds awesome until you realize, and it kind of was awesome at the time, but it was made on country line dancing. That's the theme. Swear to God, I'll post a picture just because I was so proud of the work and the board I actually made for them. It was like in the style of the Franklin Mint, so I can appreciate Monopoly.
Oh my goodness, I've always wanted like a super like way deluxe version. Like maybe our dining room table, if we could get it like laid into the table so it's permanently there all the time, that would be really cool.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So talking about games, you guys on Flip the Table, one of the nice things is that it is ultimately timeless and replayable. It is not there. if there's anything, it's the latest moldness, because there's nothing hot about any of the games you played. And some of them I'm sure had mold by the time you got them.
Yes, there was a game that we played called Ice Cube, which is very, very, very hard to track down because in this game, you literally are melting ice cubes. Like you freeze ice in the freezer and you put it on the board and you pour salt on it and hot water, and you're trying to be the last ice cube to melt, which was a super fun game, don't get me wrong. But the reason it's so rare is because that's a lot of water being spilled all over everything. And even though it was a high quality plastic tray and the components were decent quality,
Sure.
They would invariably get put away wet. And then after a year in the closet of not being played, they went straight to the dump usually. So I think the copy that we had was only slightly musty, but still playable.
Fair enough. So the point is that you guys play a lot of these like obscure games, and it started with like thrift store finds and things like that, and then kind of evolved into a whole culture. And I think you ended just over 100 episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
111 numbered shows, not counting like special appearances on other shows and little one-off things that we did. And 111 shows that I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah, and the nice thing is they're completely rewatchable. They are not time dependent. If you're never heard about them and you watch my show, I hope you feel the same way, because the goal here is that this is something that's not locked in time. But the same thing goes with yours. I encourage you, go listen to them, because they're fabulous and they're highly entertaining. Professor Laserbooks and Jared Hunnefeld, it's, with his odd wrestler obsession, is it's highly entertaining.
Yeah, and one of the guys, Flip Flory, who put the flip into Flip the Table, moved on to do Flip Flory's Super Saturday board game serial, which is a thing that's now going on. I've had the pleasure of appearing on that a couple of times. That's a fantastic show, and I don't have to do any of the post-production, so it's a real win for everybody.
And he couldn't leave well enough alone. He just, he's the old guy who has to go work at Home Depot. He just can't retire, right?
Flip is awesome because he's a wellspring of creative energy. When we first started the show and we were kind of molding it into what it would be for those 111 shows, he had a ton of ideas. And he was always texting me with like some other thing or segment or thing that he would think of. And partially because I'm kind of lazy, I shot a lot of them down, not because they weren't amazing ideas, but it was like,
Right.
That sounds like a lot of work. I'm not sure I want to do that. So what I love about his new show is it gives him the room to just explore whatever he wants to do. He can try whatever crazy stuff he wants. He gets this opportunity to express himself and bring his own fun to it. I've really enjoyed every episode that's come out. I feel honored to be even a small part of it. And I love that he now gets to let these creative energies bloom where old man moderator Chris might have shot him down once or twice over the years. So,
well, he's doing the heavy lifting, so he could do it
exactly.
He wants. Exactly.
Yeah, and but the 10,000 point certificates actually that we would mail out
Coveted.
Yes, the coveted 10,000 point certificates. That was his idea. He came up with ideas like, what if we had just something that we could send people that was cheap, and it was kind of like, he said he was inspired by the Marvel no prizes that they would send. Like if you write a letter to Marvel Comics saying, oh, this thing was wrong in this comic, they'd send you a no prize, which was just an empty envelope. And he wanted something like that for us. So he coordinated with somebody from the Game Night guys to design them, and we ordered a whole bunch of them, and they became this wonderfully coveted, valuable prize that kind of left a legacy, and people still want them today. They're like, how do we get 10,000 points? I'm like, I don't know, follow us on Facebook, I guess. Maybe we'll do something. Who knows? But
I still covet the 10,000 points. I understand. So yeah. I don't know if you remember, but once upon a time, many, many, many years ago now, at the beginning, I actually tried to send you a game.
Yes!
But you wanted none of it, actually.
I wanted none of it. It was,
and I think your rejection letter was classic, though. Do you remember what it said?
I actually saw it the other day. I think I was looking for some correspondence between you and I getting ready for this show, and I just searched Whitpan, and that letter came up. I was like, oh my God, I talked to this guy years ago, and I turned him down. Good thing I was nice to him.
You were. Your response was, I tried to send you a game. It was a trivia game right at the edge of the craze when Genus Trivial Pursuit came out. It was called Ubi. And you said it was too highly rated for your show.
Yeah. I actually had remembered seeing it on somebody's shelf who was kind of an old school gamer that we used to go over and play big, heavy games like Britannia and stuff over there. And he had Ubi on the shelf. And so I made the connection. I'm like, this probably isn't a terrible game. And it's probably not all that cheesy because this stately gentleman that I used to play games with had it. So I was like, well, maybe it's not right for our brand, but we definitely appreciate it. So I, wrote a thank you letter, and it wasn't the first one I had to write. I was very surprised at over the years how many people wanted to just send us these games to review. At first, in the beginning, we started Flip the Table with stuff that I had purchased very much unironically, and then realized too late that they were Flip the Table
Overly
material.
Ironic.
Yeah. And I had accumulated a good number of these. And so when I was first thinking of doing a podcast, I was like, well, maybe we could review some of these cheesy games, but we're going to have to raid the thrift stores all the time and keep coming up with new material. And so in the early episodes, I put in this ad that says, send us your games and we'll repurpose them and we'll give them a new home and a new life and whatever we said in that. And I actually had to pull that ad after maybe 10 or 20 episodes because we got so many offers of, I just emptied out my closet, I want to send you these games. And we were just so overwhelmed with them to a point where when we ended the show, we did our final live show at Granite Game Summit in New Hampshire.
Right.
And we had so many leftover games that we just were not going to get to and didn't want to hang on to for whatever sentimental reason or whatever, that we ended up giving away something like 30 or 40 games to that crowd.
Oh, wow.
And we kind of insisted that everybody take one. Not everybody wanted it, to a point where I had one game left. And I remember coming up to somebody that I knew from the Bangor area, and I'm like, hey, can you hold this for me? And he's like, yeah, what for? And then I ran away and foisted this game on him. And he has since tried to find clever ways to give it back, but has not been successful. So.
No. So thinking on that, what might be the weirdest game you think somebody tried to send you? There has to be something.
The weirdest game somebody tried to send us. We would occasionally get like surprise donations. Normally the system was somebody would send me a letter and they'd say, hey, I got these games. And we'd be like, all right, here's some things you need to know about donating. And if you accept these terms, I'll send you my address. Great. But then somebody would already have my address. And then later on, they'd send something.
That was the trick.
Right. That was the trick.
I didn't know.
And so somebody sent us, I don't recall the title of the game, but it was the kind of game you would find in the back of a Spencer Gifts.
Oh, they're always fun.
Yeah, the kind of game that you might play privately with somebody you're very close to. We did not review that game. That was probably the weirdest one that we got.
30s to 40s, probably playing a game like that. I don't know. I think there's potential.
If it makes you happy, then, go for it. I'm not here to stand in the way of anybody's good time, but it wasn't the sort of kind of G-rated family-friendly material that we were trying to produce. So,
well, I think Bruno Cathala came up with something similar. Am I right, Gary?
Yeah, that's a Kama Sutra.
The Kama Sutra, right? So
love that game.
It can be made,
but he's Bruno Cathala,
yeah.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this is a good time to pause for some station identification because I need to ask you about your latest obsession because I know nothing about it. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. This week's shout out is a little different. One thing in my podcast feed is LeVar Burton Reads. reads. I love coming across a new episode. He spends about 20-30 minutes reading a great short story. I highly recommend you check it out. All right, so we're back with Moderator Chris. So, Chris, you like Chaz have, and actually like Crystal as well, have a obsession with Weird Al.
Yeah, just a little bit of an obsession, you might say.
But you're also, and we can get to that, and that's fine. But you also have a recent love of Dr. Demento that's resurfaced, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes.
But
yes.
While I have a glancing, and I say glancing after talking with Chaz, and I realize, that I really know nothing outside of Eat It. So the thought is what I don't. And I'm a knave when it comes to the Dr. Demento HMO plan, but what exactly would make me want him as my primary care physician? Let's
as your primary care physician?
Yeah. What qualifications might he have?
He's been doing his show for nearly 50 years, so I guess practice makes perfect.
Okay.
So that might help. He's got kind of a unique and distinctive voice, right. Which, I guess if he's giving you bad news, I guess that's the kind of voice you want to hear it in.
Nice. So is he just doing like a late night radio show or, call-in show? Like I literally don't know. I mean...
So Dr. Demento, for those not familiar, started way back in 1970 on terrestrial radio and since moved to online only radio. And it's a show where he just plays funny, demented music, he calls it. It's where Weird Al Yankovic got his start. He sent in a tape when he was 16 years old. It became incredibly popular, and through this sort of relationship with Dr. Demento, he got his first big record deal and became the big star that everybody knows and loves today. And I grew up listening to Dr. Demento. I first was exposed to it when I was about 6 years old, probably. I definitely should not have been listening to his show. It was not appropriate for somebody my age, but I had older brothers and a sister who listened to it, and I sort of got it through osmosis. And I listened to it pretty consistently for most of school. I didn't listen to it every Sunday night, but there'd be stretches, like usually in the summertime or during a school break or whatever, where I'd stay up late and I would tape the shows and listen to it. And I liked it a lot because just I liked funny and weird stuff anyway. And, this is pre-internet, so you had to have a certain source for all your sort of bizarre things to enjoy.
Right.
But his sort of distinctive personality drew me in too, because when I was, 9 and 10 years old, I did not have any kind of a super, easy to listen to voice, but neither does Dr. Demento. He has a very distinctive sort of crazy demented voice that he speaks in, but he's also very articulate and charming, and it inspired me to get into radio and broadcasting. It's one of the reasons why I went to New England School of Communications and learned radio and learned audio. And one of the reasons I would say is an influence on Flip the Table, because we were sort of exploring that other side of things, like not the latest and greatest, but the sort of off the wall things that you might find out there.
So that college is really known for producing. That's like the premier college you go to if you want to be in radio, broadcasting, and everything. Am I right?
It is the premier college in Bangor, Maine to go to if you want to be a broadcaster. It is a great school. I got a lot out of it from a technical standpoint, and they usually do a good job of kind of staying on top of how the industry is changing and trying to change their classes to meet that. Radio was definitely the best second job I ever had, in television as well. After a while, it was not really working out as a full-time career, so I kind of switched to a more boring office job. But thanks to the internet years later, it gave the opportunity to kind of do my own thing and put myself out there in that way. So I'm grateful for that experience, which may not have happened if it was not for Dr. Demento. So.
All right. So if I was a kid in the I guess it would be, let's talk it late 90s, early 2000s. What radio program would Christmas show be on?
What would I have been on in the 2000s? Well, in 1999 to 2003 was when I went to school, and I would just pick up shifts on the radio because they kind of divided up 3 hours at a time.
You young guys.
Yeah. Yeah, they just, and so, you start out, you have to do like the 12 to 3 shift, you get the worst one. And then as you kind of advance in school, they put you in kind of better times. And so, and what I did wasn't anything super out of the ordinary. It was just basically playing music and talking. I remember I used to play the theme from Doctor Who real low under my voice when I was kind of talking up music and stuff. It was from this sort of a CD called Doctor in the TARDIS. It was sort of a remix version. And my air name was Dr. Joe, of all things.
Dr. Joe.
Dr. Joe was my name on 89.3 FM, WHSN, Bangor's New Rock Alternative. And I remember I would try to sneak in things that were that kind of demented sensibility. Like there was this cover of Baby One More Time by Travis. It was this very sort of soft, like acoustic, overwrought like version of this cheesy pop song. And I remember I loved to play it and then talk about it like it was the most important thing in the world out of the break or whatever. So anytime I could do stuff, or I helped somebody else out with they did a show on Saturday night where they played mostly jam bands and stuff. Okay. And the guy that hosted that show would give me 10 minutes so that he could step outside and take a break. He'd just hand the controls to me for like 10 minutes. And I would play Frank Zappa. So I just play funny stuff by Frank Zappa because it was within the confines of that show, but it was still like the kind of funny music that I liked. So
nice. So you started out your career, and it's kind of similar. Like I learned how to be a chef, and yet I don't cook on a daily basis either. And you went on and you found a boring second life. I'm still kind of looking for mine. But what do you hope maybe in the future that maybe you'll come back around to this? Was it entertaining, or I mean, you just retired from podcasting last year.
I did, yeah.
That it's not permanent, but kind
of like professional wrestling, right? Does anybody ever really retire?
Right. I mean, if we whip a nice big shiny belt out.
It's tempting. So what I like about the way things are now is I feel like over the years with Flip the Table, we were able to develop enough equity in the community that I can still kind of poke my head out once in a while and do like this show, for example, do episodes of Flip's show, and just kind of be a part of those things. And, I still have the time that I want to spend with my family, and I feel like I'm kind of in better balance in my personal life. But once in a great while, I can say, all right, I'm going to call Flip for an hour Tuesday night, and I'm going to do a couple segments for his show, and that's fun. Or, just do these occasional one-off guest appearances, which is fun. I have thought about a couple of like, if I get a week's vacation and I'm home by myself, what kind of projects would I do? One thing I think about is we produced a lot of music for Flip the Table. Okay. And it might be fun to like do like a sort of special one-off bonus episode where we just tell some of the stories behind that music and, where the ideas came from and how we produced it and that kind of thing, and do sort of I guess like a mini Dr. Demento show of my own where we just play music from the show and tell those stories. Another idea I had was I could do a video series of like the 5 best versions of Monopoly to play and try to spotlight those ones that aren't just like your standard out of the box Monopoly, like Monopoly Jackpot, Monopoly the card game, things like that, and try to, speak a good word for the Monopoly brand and some of the corners that maybe people don't know as much about.
Well, I think I don't think you can, once this bug gets in your system, I don't think it's easy to get it out, because you strike me.
It's not. The nausea lasts for months.
It is.
And you get hives. And you have to take antibiotics. It's awful.
But I think you need to, there's a creative itch that's satisfied by this that maybe we don't get in other places, and we need to really kind of express that. And I think that's kind of what I think that's really what leads a lot of people to do, whether it's the video shows or whether it's the podcasting and things like that. I think it's a lot of, I have this creative stuff in my brain and I need to spew it all over the entire world to consume kind of mentality.
Yeah. And what's awesome is that it's so accessible now, right?
Yeah. And I think your brain spew would be great because, I've enjoyed all of it so far. I didn't realize, however, that you guys did a lot of music for the show. I didn't realize a lot of that was original, though.
Yeah, I mean, we use a program called Acid Music Studio.
Okay.
So it's not me sitting and playing a keyboard and writing on a staff or anything like that, but it's these pre-recorded loops that you can recombine and edit and manipulate into new music. And so all of the music you hear on Flip the Table is an original creation of one sort or another. There's only 2 songs that aren't made of pre-recorded loops. This is one really sort of dramatic song, which is all keyboards, and then the acapella stuff was just stuff that I produced here in the office. But what's great about that is, number one, I don't have to pay anybody or cite anybody's work in that case because it's ours. We own it.
Sure.
And it allowed us to give it away as a reward to patrons, which was nice. They could kind of have that. It was something we could deliver quickly and electronically that people could enjoy. And I feel like it really gave us a distinctive brand and sound as well. But it's also a lot of work, to do all that stuff. So, like, for example, when we did the Omega Virus remix, if you listen to the Omega Virus show, at the end, after the credits, there's this sort of electronic, remix is very heavy and aggressive, and you can hear, yeah, and you can hear the Squawk Box talking 20 minutes, I'll take over. And to make that happen, we had to hang a mic over the game as we played it and let it pick up all the Squawk Box stuff. Because that game, you can't just restart. Right. You have to kind of go from beginning to end to catch all those clips. And so we're playing around wires and cords and things, trying to get that audio. And then, producer Chris would come out a little bit during that session where somebody would start talking over the Squawk Box. I was like, no, we don't want to lose that audio. So
Killjoy Chris.
So
out.
Yeah, grumpy old man Chris.
Stop that!
You don't talk over that electronic Squawk Box.
So I'm curious here. So Restoration Games' whole mission right now is to remake games from our childhood, right? So
yeah,
they come to you and they say you have 111 episodes worth of knowledge of old games. What game should we remake next?
What's awesome is that in some ways these conversations have kind of sort of happened on Twitter and stuff. For example, when they first kind of announced that they were a thing, just as a joke, I kind of tweeted hey, everybody tweet at Restoration Games and tell them they should remake the McDonald's game from 1970, which is one of our favorite games we ever did on the show. And then a week later, I got a tweet from Restoration Games all right, why is everybody bugging me out the McDonald's game? We've talked a little bit about a couple of the games. Heartthrob is a game that maybe has some potential to be restored, and there's been some kind of discussion about ways to do that in a way that wouldn't be horrifying to the modern sensibility, I guess. So that's an example of one that would be really good.
On the stereotype scale.
Right. And that was one of the fun things about Flip the Table, though, is that we tried to approach every game with a sort of a naive mindset, almost, to say, we picked this game because it's a Flip the Table game, but let's play it and try to find the fun in it, and let's assume that is going to be good until it tells us it isn't. And a lot of them weren't. That's kind of how it worked out, but it allowed us to really find the wonderful things about games like McDonald's and Heartthrob, and TV Scrabble is one of my personal favorites. Needed a lot of love to get to a point where it was more balanced, but it has been one of my favorite sort of side projects, is tweaking the rules to that particular game.
Right.
And I'm at a point where I feel pretty good about where it's at, and I take it to conventions and make people play it. So
Fair enough. That's what conventions are for, making people play things, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was interesting when we first started doing conventions as a show, because there was, of course, going to be an expectation that, or we flip the table, the cheesy game guys, we're going to bring some cheesy games to play, whether we want to play them or not. So we were very lucky to find games that we actually really legitimately enjoyed. If I bring a game to a convention that's one we covered on the show, I'm bringing it because it's a game I want to play at that convention.
Right.
And so that made our jobs a little easier. We didn't have to just bring stuff that's like, hey, smell this, that's terrible, like that kind of thing.
Although,
so yeah, that's one of the great things that the show brought us.
That would be fun too, like a game called Sniff and Spiel. Oh wait, somebody might have to do that.
What a capital idea! I wonder if anybody's got that trademark yet.
You know, need to get on board. You need smell-o-vision to make it work for me, though. I don't know.
Why isn't that a thing yet? It is 2018, and we don't have that yet.
Yeah, it's just, everything smells like Febreze now. It's just like... All right. Well, I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about places and things that you may know Chris from outside of this and how he gets to exercise his little special corner of the world. So stay tuned for that right after this quick commercial break.
GAN presents Dramatic Rules Theater.
So, welcome back. I'm still with Chris. He hasn't run away yet. To his chagrin, he's still here and answering all the burning.
This is my chagrin face.
Chagrin.
Yeah.
Hey, chagrin's important to have. So, you have, would you say, I don't even know that it's like a game show obsession, but I definitely know I saw a picture of you standing next to a large Price is Right wheel. And were you on the show? What happened there?
So I was not on the show, but they have a touring production called The Price is Right Live. And I was lucky enough to attend that a couple of times. And what it is, it's like a condensed down version of Big Price is Right. Basically, you pay your money for a ticket. They have Todd Newton, host of TV's Whammy, the New Press Your Luck, tours with this. He plays the role of Drew Carey or Bob Barker. And they basically kind of do a greatest hits of the different Price is Right games that you might see on TV. So they always play Cliffhangers and Plinko, and they spin the big wheel. And then at the end, they have this sort of version of the Showcase Showdown where you could win a car, but you're not going to win a car. It's like you have to get it within $100 or something to win it. But after the show, they sell what they call VIP tickets.
Oh,
where you get to hang around after the show and you pay $20 and they let you spin the big wheel, and take pictures and shoot a video of yourself spinning the big wheel, which we had to do. My wife and I went, and so I shot a video. What's that?
You're committed at that point. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a chance to spin the big wheel, you got to spin the big wheel, right?
Does it now?
So,
do you think it's an authentic big wheel spin? Is it?
I think it's probably like 75% scale.
Okay.
Probably.
All right.
It's a pretty big wheel, so we'll call it the pretty big wheel.
Okay. Pretty big wheel.
So of course we pay our $20, and they give you a T-shirt after just for playing along or whatever. And then so I shot this video of myself reaching up and spinning it. And then it looked like it was going to come around to $1, and it stopped on a nickel. And that's the best possible outcome that could have been.
Your second spin.
I'm glad I say
almost.
I spun the worst thing you can spin on the wheel in my one spin. So
Yeah. But for those of you who don't know, I believe it's what? It's 15 and 5 and then $1 in the middle, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes, it's like 5 on the bottom, 15 on top, the $1's in the middle. So if you don't quite reach the $1, you get 5 cents. It's as bad as you can do on the big wheel.
But it's like hitting 9 pins. It's like your second spin is cake at that point because there's only like one number that'll bust you at that point.
Right. I mean, if you're going for the showcase, you take another spin, you're pretty
Right.
safe. Chances are you're not going to spin $1 on that
another
second spin.
$20, right?
I wish I would have gone for it, but no, only one spin, no prizes on the line, just pride, which was instantly shattered, and I'm proud to say that I have the video to prove it.
I think wah,
So.
wah, wah, wah.
Yep,
All right.
that's
So I did a little research, and there's got to be, oh my God, how many games that they play on The Price is Right is ridiculous. Like,
lots.
I think we can all sit here and we can remember a few, right? Like I think I can remember cliffhangers and even some of the tag games. But what do you think if you had to pick one to play for the win? You got called up. You bet the $1. You came through. What is the one game that you would think you go, oh, thank God this game came up?
Flip is going to kill me for saying this, but I'm going to say Plinko.
Okay.
For the record, Flip Flory hates Plinko. Also, Flip Flory is wrong, but
Fair enough.
that's got to be the most iconic one, right? It's like, you just guess, 3 or 4 small little grocery items or whatever, and then you drop the chip in, and maybe you get $10,000, maybe you get nothing, but it's dramatic and tense and loud and fun, and it's probably the most Price is Righty of Price is Right games. Second behind that would probably be Cliffhangers, because the Yodely guy is just wonderful.
So
They were actually selling Yodely guy magnets at the live show that I went to, so I picked up a couple of those.
So I was actually reading, and there's actually a horrible story. So the cliffhanger guy has no official name. Like they different hosts have called him different things over the course of the time it's been on. And one guy called him Fritz. And apparently as he's climbing, Fritz fell off the cliff. Right? And he's like, oh no, Fritz is lost in the mountains. Turns out that one of the producer's husband's name was Fritz and was recently lost on a cliff climbing it. Like, he was like presumed dead at that point. It was just like this horrible, cringy moment. And I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible.
That is horrible.
I'm like,
That's
what?
awful.
So kind of...
Way to bring down the room, Chris Whitpan.
I know, but I'm just like...
Sucked all the energy out of this show.
Well, it doesn't take much. It's really not that bad. I really hope that there's an adult beverage in the Red Solo Cup, because right now I'm very disappointed. It's a McDonald's Solo Cup, no less. Great. So it's probably...
This is a McDonald's travel mug that I got.
Okay.
It is full of Diet Cola. It's my beverage of choice, but... and I got this from a special McDonald's event that I went to that would not have happened if it wasn't for Flip the Table.
It would not have happened. This leads me to ask you, sir.
Right.
What event was this? This sounds important.
So they released some new sandwiches. I think they were called like the Signature Selects or something like that. It was like some new, really premium sandwiches. And they were reaching out to what they called influencers to go to a local McDonald's and have like a sit-down meal where you get to try these sandwiches and talk to some people from the McDonald's PR team or whatever. So they invite some people from the local radio stations and for some reason me.
And you.
Because they somehow got wind that Flip the Table talked about McDonald's all the time. Because we play the McDonald's game, the conventions and stuff. So they're like, hey, you're a social media influencer from this area. Why don't you come to the McDonald's in Old Town? And so we go there. I took Flip as my +1. And they had set out like plates and silverware.
Oh, wow.
And they were like bringing out the sandwiches on this really like fancy serving tray. And like,
Impressive.
you know, you could have as many as you wanted. And they gave you like a little dessert. Like they had a menu to read. It's like you make the sandwich how you want it. You pick your dessert, you pick your drink, whatever. And then the whole time, you know, the gentleman is like, you know, hard selling McDonald's the whole time. And I was like, you're preaching to the choir, bud. Like, you don't have to convince me that McDonald's
I'm an influencer
is amazing.
for a reason.
Yeah, man.
Exactly. This isn't old.
But they gave us a swag bag on the way out, which included this lovely McDonald's travel mug that I enjoy using to this day. And they also gave us the fork, which was a little rubber device that you stuck French fries into like a fork so that you could dip it in ketchup. It was just a fun little tchotchke they had in the swag bag for us. And yes, we did make the chefs that they brought along play the McDonald's game with us.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
I cannot prove that it happened. There are no pictures, but I swear to you, we did force them to do that.
Excellent. Excellent. So you also have, you were talking earlier, you got to go up on stage and do Weird Al Jeopardy. What the heck was that?
Oh, yeah, that was so much fun. The most recent Weird Al tour is a tour where he is just playing like B-sides and not a lot of parodies, more like just kind of deep cut kind of stuff. And my wife and I bonded over Weird Al on our first date. It's something that we both are passionately huge fans of, and so we had to go to this tour. And for the first time, we decided to do the VIP tickets, which is not something we normally splurge on, but it just felt like it would be a fun thing to do. And I cashed in my birthday present in December to say, I'm going to spend this money so we can go to the VIP show in March.
Who's married can understand that statement very well.
Yeah, well worth it. So we went, and before the show, they did Weird Al Jeopardy. So it was like kind of like a little extra entertainment. It wasn't just like, you get good seats. It's like you get to watch this whole presentation where they set up a big giant like Art Fleming style orange Jeopardy board and the big buzzards and scoreboards and everything. And you could enter to play. And of course, I entered thinking there's no way I'm going to get drawn.
Right.
And then at the start of the program, they're playing the music, the lights come up and everything, and they draw 3 names from this tumbler. And then the guy draws the last name, and he's like, and finally, Monopoly enthusiast from Bangor, Maine, Chris Michaud. And I'm like, that's me. So I go up on stage, and we play the Jeopardy game. It had the whole buzzers and everything. It was formatted just like Jeopardy, except you could not lose points. So you were encouraged to just say whatever comes to mind, and if it was funny, they would sometimes just give you credit anyway.
Okay.
I can
appreciate that.
So I managed to, I managed to sneak in a couple extra points here and there. I also managed to get a couple of real obvious ones wrong, and everybody booed, and it was great. But I managed to win. I managed to win the entire game. Yeah. I am the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Weird Al Jeopardy champion. And I got a medal to prove it. I got Al to sign it after the show. There was a meet and greet that we got to do. And it was a really fantastic experience, marrying 2 of my biggest obsessions, Jeopardy and game shows and Weird Al Yankovic. So it was an amazing experience. It was a great time. And the show itself was phenomenal.
That sounds like, as a Weird Al fan, that sounds kind of amazing. So
yeah. If you get a chance to see the show, don't miss it.
So I have to ask, what was the question that put you over?
So at the end of the game, the final question was about the song Canadian Idiot. Apologies to Canadians watching this.
Both of you.
And the question was about the lyrics to the song, and it was like, what are Canada's 2 main exports? And I did not know the answer was like snow and maple syrup or something. So I just wrote Bob and Doug McKenzie. And And the host was a seasoned enough gentleman like myself to understand the reference and gave me credit for it. So
I think Strange Brew is a classic, and I think like old school classic B movies come up a lot on this show. I mean, Flip and I talked a lot about UHF. We can go into Strange Brew if you want.
I haven't watched Strange Brew since I was too young to be watching Strange Brew. It's been a little while. But I did hear a lot of Bob and Doug on the Demento show growing up, though.
Oh, did you? Okay. See, I think I want to say it holds up, but it's definitely reminiscent. It works. It works.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cult classic movies that stands the test of time. I think I'll watch it and find out.
Absolutely. So this has been a lot of fun. But while I don't have Battle of the Wits lined up to play next, we are going to play a game show because we have to. It's one tradition that I totally stole from Flip the Table. And we certainly will get to that right after this quick break.
It's game time!
So it's game time. So
yeah,
Moderator Chris, host of Flip the Table, the Emeritus concierge of the game show epitome on a podcast, the Battle of Wits. We are doing our own little version today, but we are going to do some BalderBance, and that's Bance spelled with a B, right? So, in honor of this, I gave Gary some homework. I made Gary come up with a couple board game titles that should be obscure enough that maybe we don't know what they are. And it's up to Chris and I, and Gary, he's going to play along too, to come up with the descriptions for these games. And then we'll each have to choose what we think is the right game, and then we'll, in some fashion, award points based on stuff we feel is appropriate. How does that sound?
Sounds just vague enough to work. I appreciate that.
Outstanding. I like vagaries in all games. I think that it's important quality. Absolutely.
If rules should be anything, they should be flexible.
Flexibility is important.
Exactly.
Right. So, Mr. Gary.
Yep. Ready, guys? Ready to start?
We are.
Let's do it.
So he's going to give us the word, and then we are going to type in our answer, and through the magic of editing, we'll speed that up so you don't have to sit here and watch us think and type and do all that fun stuff, and then we'll go from there. So, Gary, what is our first board game?
Okay, guys. So I want you guys to write a description of what this board game title sounds to you.
All right.
First game is going to be Feely Mealy. That is Feely Meely. Feely Mealy. Hey, no cameras.
I'm not Googling, I promise.
M-E-E or M-E-A-L-Y?
Feely Meely.
This one's hard. Do we lose points for spelling?
Nope. Not this time.
All right. So while Gary knows all the answers, you won't be able to guess, but you will win points if we guess your answer instead. How's that?
That works for me.
All right.
Works for me too.
Grab an official score sheet.
Okay. Let me just get everyone's answers down here so I can just read them back to you.
Scary shuffles. Put it under the table.
Okay. You guys ready?
Ready.
Okay, so Feely Mealy. First responses is a game in which contestants must put their hands in a box and feel foods, then guess what it is. That's the first one. The next one is players close their eyes and attempt to figure out who is touching them. Sometimes you may have to touch players with different objects in the rooms. The next one is the top card is revealed in a deck of cards, and players must touch an object inside of a box and must guess what that and try to figure out what that object is. And this last one, a team-based game where players attempt to guess food items described by their partners. The catch, you can only describe the feel or texture of the food. I'll read them back to you. The first one I read, I believe, was a game in which contestants must put their hands in a box and feel foods, then guess what it is. The next one was players close their eyes and attempt to figure out who is touching them. Sometimes you may have to touch players with different objects in the rooms. Then the next one was the top card is revealed and players must put their hands inside of a box and attempt to grab that item that they saw on the card. And then that last one is a team-based game where players attempt to guess food items described by their partners. The catch, you can only describe the feel or texture of the food. Which one are you guys going with?
Chris, I'm going to give you the honors of guessing first.
I, based on my deep knowledge of the cheesy, weird, and obscure, will say that guess who's touching me in the dark is the correct description.
Okay.
So the one where it's players close their eyes and attempt to figure out who is touching them?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And I had
Chris, what you going with?
I had the second one, which I believe was the same one, actually.
The players close their eyes and attempt to figure out who is touching them?
Yep.
Okay. So, let me reveal the correct answer. The correct answer is the top card is revealed and players put their hands inside of a box and attempt to figure out if they're touching the right item or not.
I got the box part right.
Now, the answer that you both picked was my answer, which gives me 2 points.
Gary
No!
But that is Feely Mealy. It has a really weird box. I wish I could put it on the screen. I might in post put it on the screen if I can remember. Actually, I should remember to put all of these boxes on
Magic
in
editing.
post because all these
You can put it right here. There's the picture right there.
We're holding it. Yeah.
Okay, ready for the next game?
All right, go ahead. Bring it on.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to say the name of this one. Oh, no. I'm going to describe the box. And the way I'm going to describe the box is a Cracked article, like, Cracked.com. They wrote an article, and they described how the box is. And I found it pretty hilarious that I copied it.
Okay.
So I'm going to describe the box, and you guys are going to name the game.
Name the game from the description.
Based on the description of the box.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. And this is how the box looks. So there's on the box, the guy who looks like a part-time hustler and full-time sex offender with a registered name of Biggs Calderhead. He's running a rough hod over the eastern seaboard, separating unsuspecting tennis amateurs from their hard-earned cash and unsuspecting girls from their hard-earned innocence. That's what the crack description gives of the box.
Wow.
And I'm not going to lie, it does actually look like that.
So we have to come up with the title of the game that this would be.
Focus on the tennis part.
Okay.
And the name Biggs Calderhead is actually on the box.
Nice. Oh, that can go so many directions.
I'm locked in.
Oh, you're killing me.
Okay.
Hurry up, Chris. We don't have all day, Chris.
We totally have all day.
Just the first thing that comes to mind.
All right. Answer's locked.
Okay. Okay, going with the first one. The first one is Boggle. The second answer is Loft. The third answer is 15 Love. And the fourth answer is Game, Set, Match. So there's Boggle, Loft, 15 Love, and Game, Set, Match.
Ugh.
How about host Chris? We go with you first.
All right. I am going to go with Loft.
Loft, okay.
The second one.
And moderator Chris.
Well, I can't pull ahead if I pick the same thing, so I'm going to take a risk here.
Oh.
I'm going to go with Game, Set, Match.
Ooh, okay. All right, so here's the answer. The actual answer is 15 Love. It's a two-player tennis game where you roll dice to determine what kind of hit you hit. That's literally all it is. You roll dice, or I did a loft. Or I rolled a dice, okay,
That
I
sounds kind of
spiked
fun.
it.
That might be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just gave Gary a point.
Yep, because the fake was loft. So you did give me a point. But you also gave Chris a point, too, because moderator Chris guessed Game, Set, Match, which was Chris's choice. All right, sweet. How am I winning?
I'm good
this?
at
I'm
lying.
3 points, and man, all right.
And I've got
all right, let's
0, I think.
I think you have 10,000 points within arm's reach, so...
Maybe.
Okay, you guys are going to
You never know.
describe this one.
Describe
Okay.
it.
I'm going to give you the title, and you're going to describe it.
All right.
The title of the game is, I'm not joking, Pinky Lee and the Runaway Frankfurters.
Really?
That is a real game.
Wow.
Pinky Lee and the Runaway Frankfurters.
All right. I think I got it.
Okay.
Almost. Got it. Okay.
And okay, think I got it. Sorry, 1 second.
You're looking awfully nervous there, Chris.
Okay. First one. A hidden movement game where Detective Pinky Lee tries to find Frankfurter 5 by asking 18 questions. The next one. All players in the game are Frankfurters that need to attempt escaping from the hands of Pinky Lee, but watch out. As long as you are not the slowest Frankfurt as you cross the finish line, you will win the game. Players move pawns along the track and have to surrender Frankfurters if they land on an opponent. The first to arrive at the finish line captures all the Frankfurters that are there. The player with the most Frankfurters wins.
That's life.
Last one, a hidden movement game where one player is a hot dog vendor in New York City, and they attempt to deduce the location of 2 to 4 fiendish hot dog thieves controlled by the other players.
Wow.
I don't know if I would hate or love any of these games.
I kind of want to play my own.
So, Moderator Chris, we'll start with you first.
Surrender your hot dogs is my answer.
So you're going with the one where the players seem to be gathering Frankfurters?
You got it.
Okay.
So that was the race one, right?
There's 2 race one.
Yeah.
Those one where you're trying to get Frankfurters, and there's one where you're trying to run away from what's his name? Pinky Lee.
Right. Yeah, I kind of like the race one where you were dropping the Frankfurters.
So, yeah, that's the same one as Moderator Chris. You want the same answer?
Yeah, no, I like it, but I don't like it that much. The third one is...
I'm saying these are random orders.
Yeah.
So,
you don't remember which is the third
I don't remember
one.
which one I said was the third one, to be honest. I think the first one I said was players move along a track and have to surrender Frankfurters so they land on a other person. And then I think I said a hidden movement game where Detective Pinky Lee tries to find a Frankfurter 5. Then I think the third one I said is when the Frankfurters are running away from Pinky Lee and they're just trying not to be last. And then the last one I said was a hidden movement game where the hot dog vendor in New York City.
No, I like that third one where the kids are trying to run away from the Frankfurter.
They're trying to run away from Pinky Lee?
Yeah. No, not the Pinky Lee. Yeah, that was the one. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
That's
what I meant.
All right. So, Chris, you nailed on the
specific.
Well, the exact opposite one where you're trying to get Frankfurters was the right answer that Moderator Chris got right.
Yeah!
I just find it funny how both of you two wrote down hidden movement games.
So that means I gave you another point, Gary. That's what that means.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think you got our number, buddy.
I think he does.
I usually always lose at BalderBance.
Frankfurter 5, right?
I like that the New York one. That was a clever idea.
Thank you.
So you guys want to do another one?
I suck at my own games.
Well, yeah.
All right, sweet. All right, so
All right, let's do this. I'm excited.
What is the name of the game? I'm going to describe it.
Okay.
Okay.
There are spaces on the game board, such as first class, airmail, or special delivery. When a player lands on one of them, the player picks a card and reads it aloud. The card will list some kind of stunt that must be accomplished in order to score points. These stunts can include another partner, and it could be such childish things as having to eat a potato chip really fast and then sing the Yankee Doodle song. And if you're the first person that accomplishes it with this other partner, then you get the points.
Childish.
I was going to say, it sounds right up your alley.
It sounds exactly like the thing I want to be doing. Come on, man.
Yeah. The description says that. Literally, the BGG description says childish. But
so it's very highly rated, I will assume.
Yeah, it's top 50,000 somewhere.
I think Gary started at the bottom of the BGG list and went up from there.
That's where the good stuff's at.
All right.
So what's the name of this game?
All right. I'm in. I like this switch, Gary. This is good. This is good.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay. Try to spot the fake. So, first answer is going to be going postal. The next one is... What was that?
Seems plausible.
Okay. Yeah. The next one is post office. The next one is tattle or dare. And the last one is Gary Pope is a rock star and Olympic gold medal winning weightlifter for reals.
I am not choosing that one.
Maybe I found a game that just happens to have my name in it, and I just thought you guys would not even come close to guessing. Maybe.
Oh,
who knows?
I need you to read them again. I started laughing at Gary Pope, so I need you to read them all again.
All right, so I'll start over. I'll start with the best one first. Gary Pope is a rock superstar and Olympic gold medal winning weightlifter for reals. There's a comma in there too.
Okay.
Is there a Z or an S?
What was that?
Is reals spelled with a Z or an S? Because I think
I'm glad you noticed the different pronunciation. It ends with a Z.
Okay, just checking.
All right, and then the next one is going postal. With an exclamation point at the end of it. That's important. Next one after that is tattle or dare. And then there is post office.
Wow.
Okay.
Believe it's your turn to go first, right?
I think it's
all right.
Post. I don't know anymore.
I'll write mine down to stay fair.
So what you think, Mr. Moderator?
I like a title with a good exclamation point in it, and that's the one I want to believe is real. So I'm going to say going postal.
Sounds right up Gary's alley. Like, definitely something he picked.
Totally.
But I'm going to go with the tattle or dare.
Okay. And you guys are both locked in?
Both locked in.
Guys, I made this super easy. It was Gary Pope as a rock superstar and Olympic gold medal winning weightlifter for reals. There's... Obviously, I'm going to go for the thing that sounds so fake. I went on to BGG and I made a game called this, so you can see it right now. No, I'm joking. That's not it. I wish I did that. But nope, the actual game.
That'd be a lot of work to do between now and when this releases.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got to sneak it by the moderators. You just got to make a really convincing-looking prototype.
You know, moderators by
hey, look, there's pictures and everything. It's totally
kind of lazy, though, from my experience. Just
oh man,
there's a pod play stretch goal right there. The print and play of Gary Pope is a rock legend and Olympic gold medal weightlifter.
I think it needs to happen. It's a Preston Luck game.
But yes, the game was the dullest one out of all of them.
Post office.
Post office.
Ah!
Yes.
That's the worst.
Yeah, by far. The fake was Tattle or Dare, and host Chris's was Going Postal, which in my opinion I think is the most suitable one for the actual game. You know, none of it.
Gary's kicking both our butts. Yeah. He's not even doing anything, and he's kicking our butts.
He just went
I guess I could be.
That's the best way to win.
I guess I could be giving you guys points. Yeah, it's true. It is the best way to play.
All right. So the moderator Chris of this show is going to make an executive decision, and the next round is going to be the last round, and it needs to be worth 10,000 points.
Whoa!
Absolutely. Best mechanic in a game show ever.
It's all about balance.
It is.
It's got to keep it balanced, right?
You got to feel like you have a chance when you're sitting in last place.
Okay, I got a good one for you guys.
All right.
The last one.
All right.
Which one, moderator Chris? What would you prefer? Would you prefer hearing the description or the title?
I think writing the description would be fun. Let's do that.
Okay. Last one. The game is called Let's Be Safe. Let's be safe.
Be so many things.
Okay.
All right.
All right, locked in.
Yep.
Okay. Starting with the first one. It is a deduction game where you're trying to escape a safe by cracking the code before the time runs out because you will run out of air. Next one is...
It's not really being safe, though.
Next one is... Everyone plays a school safety guard helping kids exit buses. Points are earned by safely crossing streets, but be warned that Camaro running over children will cost you, professional wrestlers. The next one, a children's game about safety. Similar to traditional memory, children are asked questions about safety, and the game actively encourages discussion about safety. And then the last one is, you can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. Because if friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, it ain't no friends of mine. So, which one is it?
All right.
Tough choices.
They are.
I'm going to go with the one that if it's not a thing, somebody watching this someday in the long tail of the internet needs to make it a thing. And that's the one where you're running out of air inside of a safe and need to crack the code. That is just a bonkers and phenomenal concept for a board game, and I would absolutely play that if it were a real thing. That will be my guess.
And it works with the pun, too.
Yeah. But I can't ignore the reference to Men Without Hats, and Pop Goes the World was one of my favorite albums. So when I was growing up, so I'm gonna have to go with the safety dance. I think there's a game based on the safety dance.
Okay, guys. Chris?
Yes?
You are obviously...
Correct?
Heck no. He's dreaming.
He's correct!
I mean,
There's nothing more right about that answer.
Come on, man. Saying it doesn't mean it isn't right. Just saying.
But you did give Moderator Chris a point. So that you're right about that.
I'm on the board!
But another point was handed over to Gary over here because the game about being trapped in a safe is not real.
So it was safety.
Yes. Yes, it was safety memory.
It's just so disheartening. All those other games need to exist like I'm sorry, Crossing Guard Frogger needs to happen before safety memory.
Yes, but memory safe stuff is
wow
out there on store shelves, everyone.
So
Google it up on your eBays and find a copy.
So Gary,
maybe we'll play someday on our show. Psych!
Yeah. I think it's time to prepare for the end of the world because Gary has won a game, so I don't think that bodes well for us. And
it doesn't
he
bode
won
well
it in glorious fashion. We only stole 3 points from it.
Ouch.
If I had to lose, that's how I want to lose. Is the most glorious, epic way possible. So
yeah, if you're gonna fail big.
Yeah, fail to a rock star, man. A rock superstar, Olympic gold medal,
an Olympic gold medalist.
Gary really wants that game designer badge under his name on BGG. Just saying.
I just won a name title that's like Tribe Called Quest. And I think the Gary Pope is a rock superstar and Olympic gold medal winning weightlifter for reals is a great subtitle to have.
I don't know. I think there's a medieval Machiavellian Catholic Church-based game called Gary is Pope.
If that actually exists, I had to buy it.
And I think on
Gary, Pope, period.
Exactly. And on that note, I think we need to call this episode because I don't think it's getting any better than this. So
that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been an absolute blast. It's great to poke my head out into the world again and say hello. I'd love to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. It was wonderful to have you on. I love that we've gotten the the alumni of the show on recently, and while you didn't win the Golden Geek in your final year, you definitely, in my opinion, earned it. And, you know, you guys went out great. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't caught the show, definitely go back and check it out. And you're still pretty funny and active on the Twitters and all those things. So where can people find you these days?
Sure, let's run it right down. You can find the complete series of Flip the Table at tableflipsyou.com or wherever fine podcasts are sold. At tableflipsyou.com, you can also find links to all our social media. I am on Twitter at tableflipsyou. I have adopted that as my personal Twitter account since the show has wrapped up. We also have a Facebook group that you can join. The only requirement is that you're not a robot or monster. You can join us and discuss cheesy, weird, and obscure games. Board Game Geek Guild, where stuff still happens from time to time. You can whisper it into your pillow at night, or you can throw up the moderator signal against the cloudy sky, and I'll come to save the day wherever you are, or to eat everything in your fridge. One of those.
It looks a lot like the Mighty Mouse symbol of old, actually. If you don't know what it looks like, do a search. But anyway,
it's actually the symbol for Monopoly money. It's the M with the two lines through
exactly.
it. And that's, yeah.
Because, you know, where would we be? So,
exactly.
Thanks so much, Chris, for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you playing our little game, hanging out, and getting to talk with us, and dealing with all the things, and Gary winning.
Sorry about that, guys.
It was a real blast. Thank you so much for having me on. This was great.
Absolutely. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our efforts at comedy and fun, please support us on Podpledge. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, don't forget to engage with us on Board Game Geek Guild 3134. You can also check us out on our website, GameAllNightShow.com. This show has been made possible through supporters like these. Angry Octopus.